Welcome to Belief, Being, and Beyond with your host, Granddaughter Crow. Hi, everybody. Granddaughter Crow here with yet another episode of Belief, Being, and Beyond. And I always find beyond for you guys. And we are going beyond once again, taking us outside of the normal mundane muggle scope and really looking at the world through my wonderful colleague, friend, wonderful person, Gayle Fowler. And say hi to everybody, Gayle, before I give you a proper introduction.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here.
Oh, it's so nice to have you. So let me just tell you a little bit about Gayle. So check this out, guys. Gayle is an urban shaman. Wait, what? An urban shaman. We're going to be talking a lot about that. Also a certified master teacher of Reiki and the Feather Way, which we might get into. She's an empath, a medical intuitive, and a channel. So she started her own company, Gifts, GEAF Gifts LLC in 2012 and opened up her own shop in November of 2025. Gayle found at an early age that she was able to ease people's pain, ease the pain of people, loved ones, like both physical and emotional pain. And she could sense spirits and all of these things. But it wasn't until she first completed her Reiki certification here in Colorado that she accepted the role as being a healer. She also has the gift of seeing past lives, sharing messages from your guides, and connecting with shamanic guides, which I'm really excited. You know, I want to talk about that. She works with bear medicine and other indigenous medicines to help people to heal their emotional, mental, spiritual bodies and help them to heal their physical bodies due to all of that. Now, Gayle was born, raised, and educated in Hawaii and got her bachelor's degree at the University of Hawaii, but then she came here to Colorado and decided to get her master's, an MBA, Master's of Business Administration from the prestigious Regis University when she finally left corporate America after over 30 years as a project manager director to pursue her healing path. And I really wanted to make sure that I got all of that in there because a lot of the listeners are finding themselves at the crossroads between that logical corporate America, got my MBA, what am I doing? And then this spiritual healing path. So let's just start there because you are one of those beautiful souls that does both. And I've known that ever since I've met you. You have an extremely business side, logical side, and then a very intuitive side. So, how did you tell us a little bit about how you got here and that path?
But I like to tell people I was born this way, both sides. And so, at a very young age, I decided, I'm going to work on building my resume and, making it in corporate America. But what I was born with was the ability to sense spirits, sense energies, knowing things, and growing up that way. I'm of Japanese ancestry, grew up in Hawaii. So in Hawaii, we have a melting pot. Everybody is, we're all mixed, except for me. I was like, I'm only Japanese. But anyway, what we learned, we're known to be superstitious. I think as a culture, because it's so blended, you have all these different, beliefs from different countries. And then Hawaii itself with the magical, the mana, all of those there, you can't help but start to see things, experience things. So I always had that. But I said, nope, I can't focus on that because growing up, my mom used to say things like, don't tell anybody because they're going to think you're crazy, things like that. Right.
Right.
And so, but I thought everybody was this way. I didn't think I was any different until I started to ask questions or, start saying things. And when I was told, don't say that, it was like, oh, okay. Like I remember very young, I'd say, Mommy, there's a ghost in that room. She'd say, don't go in there. So, that's so then I really worked on, succeeding in the business world. And so I got my, my BA and my MBA, and but there's still that other side of me that was still there. And
Right.
I tried to put it aside, or like put it in the closet,
Yeah.
because I was focused, right, to succeed in corporate America. But then I realized, that was still a part of me. And there's things I just cannot unsee or unknow. And that's where you and I had a good discussion when we had a reading, which helped me to understand that there was nothing wrong with me
Right.
in that sense, and that I could have both worlds. So I like to say I wear different hats depending on the situation. But when I started, I think it was back in, well, 2012 is when I started gifts. But even before that, I started to separate them, like say, here is the muggle job and here is my spiritual side.
Right.
So when we talked about it, even about what I was receiving, the gifts, and I want to be a shaman, all of that stuff, it was me who said I couldn't do both, and then after we talked about it and then your path, I was like, oh, wait a minute. So the things that I've been receiving from my guides, like, I'm not making that up,
Right.
and like somebody asked me, this is, do you lie? Do you make things up? I'm like, no. They said, then why would you start now? you know? So I'm
Right.
like, oh. So the logical side of me started to understand, going, wait a minute, yeah, that's true. And there's just experiences that I've had that, I know it to be true. And it started very, very young. So I kind of use my intuition in corporate America as well, understanding, like, being an empath, understanding, okay, this person who's coming into this meeting is not doing so well. I can feel their energy. So, maybe at the break, I'll say, how you doing? Everything okay? So trying to bring that balance in there without, really pushing the issue, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, the woo-woo part, right?
Yeah.
But one of the best experiences that I had where it combined the two, I was a director and I had 250 people under me. And I had, some directors and managers under me. And one of them, he came in and he was like, oh, I got a headache. His job was very stressful. And I said, I just gave away my last Advil. And he's like, oh, and I said, do you trust me, Bill? He goes, yeah. I said, then have a seat. And so I started to release the pressures. That time I was just about finishing my Reiki master teacher class. And I said, okay, just sit there. And I just pulled out the stress. And he sat there. He goes, I said, so how did you feel? He goes, what did you just do? I said, did you feel it being pulled out? He goes, that was weird. I said, but do you feel better? He goes, yeah, it's gone. He goes, but I'll come see you afterwards. I said, well, you could bring in more stress to cause more pain. I said, but yeah, do so. And so he kind of left going, and he's from Alaska. I'm like, oh, you totally know what I'm doing. So he
Right.
came back and I goes, we were walking around. It's like probably 7 o'clock at night. We're still there. I'm like, so Bill, how you doing? He goes, oh, yeah, I never came back. I said, good. So it combined the two. So I can still do it in the private, portion of working with one of my, I'm calling my friend. And it still fit in our corporate job, because then he could do his job without the pension headaches, the
I love
stress
it.
headaches. And I realized, going, I'm the one who's worried about what people will think of me. But after a while, as I got older, I'm like, oh, well, I am who I am. And that's now where I'm seeing. And a lot has to do with, working with you, a lot of the guidance that you gave me, starting to accept the gifts that I had and not keep thinking, I have to prove it. I have to get you have to have the validation all the time. I still do, but it's cool to have it and going, oh, yeah, I knew that, you know? So then that allowed me to work more with the spirit guides, with the animal spirit guides, especially. They came in really strong. And then choosing the path of a shaman. And I remember we were in Estes Park for that discussion.
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
And,
we were in
and
Estes Park.
yeah, and it was, I think they were having a session. So we were all just like, hanging out, all of the vendors and the readers. So I said, okay, I'm going to have a meeting, session with you. And I remember asking you, why is it that when I want to take these shaman classes, either I don't have the money or the dates don't match up? And then you kind of asked me, like, why do you feel you have to take this class? And I said, because otherwise I can't call myself a shaman. And then we started talking about, the certificate. I would feel better if I had that piece of paper. But you were saying, but you already have it. We started talking and, about then what really sold me was when you had told me you were a keynote speaker at that conference with all the female shamans, and
Yeah.
they were dropping, right? They're all who the teacher was. And then they asked you, Granddaughter Crow, who's your teachers? And you said, my guides. And when you told me that, I was like, oh, because I do get a lot of guidance. And at that time, I would call it they're poking at me. Like, we want you to do it, but not shoving me, just a little poke, poke, poke. And then you said, you just need to remember what you forgot. And my analytical brain's going, well, if I forgot it, how am I going to remember? But then it started. It's almost like you, you lit the candle, and now I can start seeing it. And then I had little things happening, like we were doing clearing ceremony with the fire. And I remember hearing Grandfather Bear saying, throw the bear root in there, the osha root. And I'm like, yeah, I have some in my medicine box. He goes, throw it in. So I was like, okay, thinking to myself, whatever, I'm going to do it. I'm talking to myself, but I knew I wasn't. So I put a little bit in there. And then Garrett Duncan, Garrett, he's Navajo. And he came to me, he goes, what did you put in there? I said, bear root. And I said, was I not supposed to? He goes, obviously you were. I've just never experienced it before. It was very grounding, very soothing. Then he says, who told you to put it in? I said, Grandfather Bear. And he goes, that was amazing. And so that was the validation they were talking about. I listened, I did it, and going, okay, we'll see what happens. And then, especially with Garrett saying, this you should do this. This is great. He never thought of that. And I looked up to him, as one of my teachers as well. I'm going, wow, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And then another key piece that came about was Sandra Ingerman. So, a lot of people talk about Sandra Ingerman, and I just happened to listen in. I think it was like a year in ceremony or something like that. And just happened to listen. And they were asking that the guest, she was a guest, there were two other guests. And the question was, what was your most amazing either ritual or ceremony? And Sandra Ingerman said, the most amazing, that ceremony that she ever did was when she followed her intuition. And I said, oh, that's what I wanted to hear. So then after that, I started trusting, still have doubts, but I still said, okay. Mm. And then amazing things started happening because I kind of like took that veil down, the veil that I put up.
Right.
Right. And so that's how I can walk the two worlds. In fact, I did go back and I'm doing a muggle job during the day, but it's such an easy job because I threw it out there saying, if I'm going back, because this came about because of the pandemic, So I said, okay, I want to work remotely. So I want to work from home. I don't want to be the boss. And I basically want to do the job and then be able to go and see clients, things like that. And I've been lucky. It just happens that way. And I get paid way more than I did when I worked full time for the big companies. And I'm having fun. So
Good.
that's that bridge that I, figured it out.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And, meeting you and your spirit and what I see as your soul, it was to me like, oh, all we need to do is wake this one up because she's got lifetimes of work that she's done, healing energetic work with other beings outside, and all of these gifts. And then, so when I don't say that to everybody, Gail, I don't just tell them, don't get the certificate. There's some I'm like, here, I'm teaching a class. Let's start with the ABCs, No, I'm just playing. But,
But I
it was
too.
it
Yeah.
was I recognized you and your ancient soul. And that's why I said that to you, is that just remember what you forgot. And what I meant was what your DNA and your spirit and your soul already knows. If you can get your mind quiet and do that. And now look at you. I mean, it's just amazing. And this is beautiful because you call yourself the urban shaman. And
Right.
I love that because a lot of people, come up to me because I do carry the title of shaman and teach shamanism and all of that as Granddaughter Crow. But a lot of times they look at me because I'm indigenous to, North America. And they're just like, oh, well, that gives you the right to be this way. When in truth, if you study it far back enough, shamanism doesn't even come from North America. It comes
Yeah.
from like Siberia, Tungusic period, and it's evolved into this ability to be there on behalf of the people and bringing in other, the bear. I can totally see the bear energy with you. I carry a lot of bear, even though I don't talk about it. I come from a bear clan. And it's just really kind of beautiful because you're helping, I think, people who are going through a lot of things like you are, where it's like, okay, I've got to turn on the corporate America thing, and then I got to turn it off, and then I turn on the spiritual thing. And I'm not saying that that's good or bad. I'm just saying that if you do it long enough, you can find a way to blend them. And I too worked in corporate America for not as long as you, but I still worked there and I can't go back because I am way too crazy for them nowadays. Just kidding, Gail. I'm playing.
But you know what I'm finding is that it's becoming a lot more acceptable. In the project that I was on prior to the one I'm on now, it was very stressful. I could feel everybody being stressed, and I managed a smaller group this time, even though I said I wouldn't. Stupid me says, okay, I'll do it. But then I said, you know what? I'm thinking let's do a group thing because we always met once a month. I said, why don't we do a class to teach you how to do some relaxation exercises? And they were really, really open to it. Then they started asking me, well, what do you do besides this? And so I told them. Some of them knew what Reiki was. Some of them understood. I said, a lot of your physical ailments are tied to a lot of trauma that we push down, or it's hidden in our subconscious that you may not be aware of it, but you can get triggered. So all of that is playing a role into who you are now.
Yeah.
And I really had a really good response. And then people after that was contacting me going, tell me more, And then one of the biggest stress buckets, I'll call them, I see he missed the class. I said, so, when do you want to, sit and chat? I'll just help you, give you some exercise. He goes, who says they're stressed? And I thought he was joking. He was totally serious. He goes, nobody's stressed here. I said, obviously, you are not seeing things as clearly. I said, you are the stress bucket. You are the king of the stress buckets. And he was like, what? And I said, yes, think about it. And he also had some personal things going on in his life with his father. So I told him, I says, Kyle, you've got all of these, competing priorities, which is really affecting you. And you're really, you're not performing as well as you need to. And it's because of all those. So we talked a little bit. I don't think he ever did the exercise. But he says, well, I go to church. And I said, that's good. Do you release it when you go there? And he sat there. He said, that's the key. If we keep keeping all of that junk inside, eventually it's going to find a way to come out. and manifest in some kind of physical dis-ease, as we call it, right? And
Yes.
I know because I've had so many other things. You'd think I would know. I'm like, no, I'm good at explaining it to others, but not self-practice, right? Not, so that piece. But so I saw the how it can really work together.
I
And
love
so
it.
I can do this now, and I'm not really afraid to say what I do in addition to my day job, and it's okay. And I said, well, if they have a problem with it, then I'll just go find something else.
That's right.
But
I
I
ab
think I could have done that like, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. It would have
yeah.
been a struggle.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And so you can find gifts at gifts.com, which is GEAF. Talk to us about, okay, so your business is called Gifts LLC. And the first gift is spelled GEAF, and the second one is just the regular gifts, like I'm going to give you a gift. So how did that name come about? I've always wanted to ask you.
Well, I tried to figure out a unique name, right? So I won't have any problems registering the name, the business type. And so I just took my initials. So it's Gayle, Emmy, Asal. So that's my two middle names, Fowler. And so that's where gift comes from.
So if
And
you're
people are like, oh,
enjoying the Belief, Being, and Beyond podcast and would like to support it, I'm on Patreon. Just go to Patreon, Granddaughter Crow, or you can find it at granddaughtercrow.com. Thank you I
so
love
much.
it. So for the listeners who are in Colorado or visiting Colorado, you can actually visit your shop in Westminster, Colorado
Mhm.
on location.
Yep.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
so I do it by appointment, so because I'm not there all day, right? So they can come. My office is actually on 91st Place in Sheridan, and I'm in Building B. And I took Building B, Suite B 101, so it's on the ground floor. So a lot of my clients who have walkers, canes, wheelchairs, they don't have to go upstairs because those buildings don't have, elevators. And of course, my sons and my husband was very happy when they had to move me in that there were no stairs.
That's right. I absolutely love it. So what else do you offer online? I know that you're a teacher
Mm-hmm.
and you teach a number of different types of classes, shamanism, all of Reiki, all of those classes. Do you do some online and what do you have coming up?
So actually, it's funny that we're talking about the shamanism side too, because I'm just starting a group. It's going to be the last Thursday of every month. It's from, I think it's 6:30 to 8:30, and I'm calling it a shaman's journey discussion group.
I love it.
So it's not about you coming in for a personal session or getting, it's more like you've got a question, or something's maybe you picked up something or you're not sure about something. We have a group to be able to talk about it. And I have that online as well as in person.
And
And
the
so
first,
I'm going to be doing it, on a monthly basis. And I'm also thinking of having people come as guest speakers. Like we talked about it before. I wanted to create a series where people could talk about how did they become the shaman. And that was, I would say, maybe just at the latter part of the pandemic piece of it. And so, trying to figure out how we're going to do it online and things. And there were two key people that I wanted to share because they were elders and they had unique backgrounds.
yes,
So one was Clifford Mahooty.
yes,
And, Clifford, I had the opportunity to work with him, to hear the stories, all of that stuff. So I was so excited to have him. And he can talk about, the star connection and, what the Zuni tribe does. And then he passed. And it's like, oh, and the other one was Chief Golden Light Eagle. I thought
yeah,
that's great. And then he passed.
yeah,
And it kind of, it made me sad. I felt a little lost and I said, well, let me see. But then I realized it started up again. It says, because I've had several people refer people to me. And I
yeah.
say, if you just want to talk, we'll sit and talk. And then the more I talked with them, I said, you know, I think this is what we need to have because there's too many that says you need to do it my way.
Yes, I
And
agree with that.
and I'm going, well, it doesn't always work that way. And like I
Yes.
will say, I don't meditate. I meditate when I'm making things, but I got to my brain won't stop doing. So, it's like, but when I'm just focusing on one thing, the messages just comes in. So I was told, I think it was in my Reiki master teacher class, he said, you're meditating when you're focusing on that one thing. And I said, oh, I didn't know that because I can just see meditating. I'm going to sit in an awkward position and then I have to sit for a long time and try not to get my brain, thinking about all the things I needed to do. So I've learned a lot and I want to be able to help people kind of like realize it's not a cookie cutter approach.
Yes.
And a lot of the younger ones are thinking, I have to take all these classes, I have to do this and I have to do that. And when I'm talking to them because of you, I'm like, you realize you're already a shaman, right? and like,
Yeah.
and then talk to them about it, and they're like, oh, I said, yeah. I said, shaman actually came from the Tungsten province in Siberia.
Yeah.
It's not even, like you're saying, it's not Native American.
Right.
And oh, I said, it's another name for a healer, for the one who can go between, assisting in the different realms. I mean, all these, it's just a universally accepted label.
That's right.
But
That's
then
exactly right.
we will think you need to be taught like how the indigenous culture was taught,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then another thing that you said, which keeps me, makes me think about, you're like, well, how do you think the first shaman got the message?
That's exactly right.
And I'm
That's
like,
exactly right.
you're right.
Yeah.
When I take classes, it helps me to remember what I forgot. It
That's
helps
exact.
with validation. So all of that, they all tie together.
Yeah.
We have to get out of our own way, which I'm still working on.
Yeah. Well, basically, some people can categorize it into two different sections. One would be traditional shaman, which is passed down through culture, whether it is Japanese culture or Navajo culture or Nordic culture. That would be traditional, where you're learning it from the culture. And then there is neo shaman, which is more of the urban shaman. And the beauty is that it's kind of like what I see as, and I'm kind of both, a little traditional and very much neo shaman. I do what I want. I'm not a cookie, you know. I'm
Well,
not
that,
the cookie cutter. But the beauty is that if you go to a school, and I think that I teach shamanism classes, so do you. I'm not knocking that at all. But in the class, it's set up to help you to connect, to learn things, but help you to connect. And you can learn and learn and learn and never connect, or you never set foot into the class and you know how to connect. We just kind of bring it together. What do you think about that?
I do. I really agree to that. I mean, I know I remember taking the classes where we journey to the different realms. And I'm like, I'm fine. I wasn't fine. It was like so high. But it was good to have that learning the tools or remembering, right, what you forgot. That really helped me in one, I forget what class, were we going to the higher realm or what, but you said, have you been working with Raven? I'm going, yeah, I have. You've been shape shifting, haven't you? And I'm like, oh, did you know? Because that's part of my
Yes.
training was to my training, meaning what they're showing me, was to go in to do the shape shifting part. Like when I had my, I guess, initiation, I guess you could say, with grandfather bear, or with the bear medicine, I grandfather bear was standing behind me. He's like probably 10 feet tall because he was standing on his hind legs, and I'm like not even 5 feet. So he's very big.
Right.
And Garrett was taking me through that, right? And then he says, like, then Garrett says, well, you need to mark the tree with your claw, type of thing. We're looking at and in the spirit realm, and I'm looking like, how am I going to do that? Fine, But then he says you're gonna combine with Grandfather Bear. And me being me, I remember turning around looking at Grandfather Bear going, you're not gonna fit. But then I started to shape shift into the bear.
Yes.
And then Grandfather Bear, we actually took down a deer. And I'm going, I'm not a hunter, and but we took down the deer and he was showing me the parts that you're supposed to eat. My human brain was grossing out, but I understood, all of these things that I said, I can't make this shit up. It's like
Oh,
I
that's
don't know.
exactly right. That's exactly right.
So that's how me letting go of the, like, oh, I'm a director, Miss Prim and Proper, everything. No, I was able to experience this beautiful, beautiful experiences that, has really helped me moving forward. But that was amazing. And I remember coming out of that going, wow, that was amazing. And Gary's like, what happened? I said, don't you know? He goes, no, that was your private one. I'm going, oh, okay. But it's amazing. And the experiences I've had since then, I feel so blessed, you know?
Yeah. I absolutely love it because one of the biggest things with this episode is which I didn't even know. I lit my candle, people. I pray, and say whatever comes through, comes through. But it really is a message of being able to blend your what you would once consider polar opposites, whether it's the working world and the spiritual world and integration and learning and being able to show up exactly as you are. Once again, I've got the website and social media below, but okay, so we got a few minutes, so let's go really spooky fun here. It might not be spooky. I will say a word and it's up to you to share with whatever you want. Here is the word. Sasquatch. Sasquatch. Sasquatch.
I I remember the first Patterson Gimlin, pictures of that, and I felt like I knew it was real. Some, I guess the intuition, I felt that's real. But I'm going, oh, people say they don't believe in it, but I felt like more like their energy to me feels like an elemental. Okay, so that was the first piece of I just knew right off like they were part of the earth. Then as time went by, I heard the theories about that they came from the stars, and then they came here. And I'm going, oh, okay. And so Garrett had decided to take a group of us and we're going to go to Washington State for a conference. And it was a Sasquatch conference. I think it was called the Psychic Sasquatch Conference there. And it was amazing. The place was amazing. Um, that's where I met people who were very similar to me. But prior to going to that conference, we went up to the mountains at the on the New Mexico side on the Navajo reservation, and it was Garrett's family sheep camp. Where they would go and have the sheep there, and the kids when they were kids, they would just hang out there. He never experienced anything when he was there, when he was young. But the year prior to when we went up to, he said they heard the noise and there was a big footprint in the area where they're staying. But they only stayed one night, so then they left. So we had gone up to really experience something. So we went to the store. We've got all kinds of like corn and watermelon, all these things. And then I heard Reese's peanut butter cups. It's like, okay. And then it was the fudge stripe cookies. I heard another thing going. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're bringing those too. If not, we'll eat it, right?
Right, right.
But I think it was a new moon. And Garrett's like, okay, nobody used flashlights. Well, keep in mind, my roughing it was KOA. So, and my husband would do all set up, I'd do the cooking and all that stuff. But so I went there without my husband, just a small group. We had set up our tent. There was no showers, there was no bathroom. You have the outhouse, and then you go get the water from, the running water type of thing. And so we bring it back to the camp. And at first I'm going, I don't think I can do this. My friend's like, yeah, you can. So we went there. So I think it was the second night we were there. We were like, okay, we're going to take all of our offerings. Some people says, why do you call it offerings? I'm like, I don't know. We just called it offerings. And we were going to go up to this big tree stump and we're going to put it up there. So we're walking there and all of a sudden we're like, maybe we're at the bottom and maybe it's like maybe 15 feet. You have to walk up the hill. There were these loud hoots and calls and coyote sounds. And I'm like, what the heck is that? Just all these loud noises. And then my logical brain going, maybe somebody was having ceremony and the noise is traveling and we're hearing them celebrating. And Garrett's like, no, it's them. I'm going, them who? It was a Sasquatch. And you could tell they were closer because you know how you hear a sound and you can feel it touch you type of thing? That's what it was like. So we hear it to the left and then we hear it to the right and all of these noises. And then Garrett goes, okay, now go and put your offerings up the hill. And it was dark. And all of a sudden, we all just stopped. He goes, stay in your heart space. Stay in your heart space. Everything is good. And I felt a sense of excitement coming from the ones who were making the noise. I felt the sense of family feeling. And so he goes, okay, you guys can go up two at a time. So we did. We ran up there, put the, things and we left. Well, they did take stuff. They did this. Things were gone. And like some of them, oh, that's just a ground squirrel did this or, something. But there were unique situations where you're like, And then the energy, I could feel the energy around where they were sitting. And there were some footprints that, we're like, oh, look there. We weren't the type to, I'm going to cast it. It's just we experienced it. And then on the last day when we were going to leave, we went down to this little pond area. We're on a logging road. And Garrett had said his grandfather had built a sweat lodge down below by the water. So I was looking for that. Garrett was behind me talking to Tracy. She was there talking to behind me. And there were like at least 8 of us there, kind of all over the place. So I'm looking, then I stop. I'm like, what is that? So I'm seeing this being from behind. Looks like beautiful, long, black hair, and it's just like all the way down. And I'm thinking, what is that? So my mind is saying, of course, that's a Sasquatch. I'm like, that doesn't look like what I've seen on TV. It was like just beautiful, like as if, she showered and her hair is so glistening. And I'm trying to get in touch with Garrett behind me. I'm like, Garrett, and I don't stutter. And finally I said, Garrett, he goes, what? And it's gone. And he goes, what did you see? I said, I don't know what I saw. He goes, what did you see? I said, I don't know what I saw. He goes, you know what you saw. What did you see? I said, and so I explained to him. And then I said, maybe it was somebody else up here. I mean, of course, not logically making sense, but I'm trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And he goes, no, you saw a Sasquatch. I'm like, maybe it was a raven. like stupid things, but I can't understand what I saw and nobody else saw. And they were right behind me. And so we had to leave. It's like, okay, but everybody believed me. I didn't believe myself. It's like, oh my gosh. But we went back in, I think it was October, and he got the connection. And it was actually one who just had come through a portal. And I know where the portals are because we could feel it. And she gave us a name, Italia. And so she was there. And I said, then why me? They said, because you were ready. I said, I don't think I was ready, but it was my heart that was open.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And so going back to Washington State, I don't see them, like they didn't pop out of, from the forest. I probably would have ran away. Like they were talking to me telepathically.
Yeah.
And I could see their outlines. You could see the eyes. And I was like, oh, dang, they're really, really bigger in Washington State. 15, 20 feet tall, and that's where their eyes were hitting.
Wow.
And a lot of people had experiences. So, it's not like I'm making it up, everybody else did. But one night we were there, I think this was like the second or third time we had gone up. And it was probably like 2 o'clock in the morning. So there's two friends from Australia, and then myself and my friend Susan. And we were outside because this place is like a summer camp for kids. So you got the rooms, and all that stuff. And so we're out there, and there's like the trees are here. We're just talking. And I just left because we kind of stood in the four directions. So we were talking about, okay, which way is east? And I said, I don't know. I grew up on an island, And then I said, doesn't the sun rise in the east? And then my friend from Australia goes, not in Australia. Then I happened to look up, and it looked like a silver white light. It looked like maybe a motorcycle headlight. I was going, is there a road back there? He's like, no, there's no road back there. He goes, no road back there, sister. And I look again and going, oh, now there's two. And they weren't like close, they were a little further apart and they were high up. But I was seeing some other, like on the bottom, all these different sets of eyes. They said, oh, that's eye shine. We've seen that before. I said, I haven't. I've never seen it. So as we were talking, I was getting, they're asking, are you male or female? And I'm looking around going, and it was super cold. We're all bundled up. So again, me being me, I flashed open the blankets, female, and that's all you're getting.
I love it.
So I think that was like the funny part, right? I guess because I was a little scared, so I made it fun. And then I hear and I know it was a female because I could feel that she was a female. And she says, please continue to talk. She's interested to hear what we were saying. Well, what did we all do? We stopped talking. We're all facing the forest. And I'm looking at them like, are you guys hearing what she's saying? They're like, no. I says, what? No, I mean, I can hear her. They go, she's talking to you. I said, why me? You guys have all the experiences. This is new for me. And they go, no, you were chosen.
Yeah.
So she started talking to me, and it was like, I was just amazed. And, from then on, I'm like, okay, I'm okay. I can see, I could see like she came a little closer, but she knew I was still kind of hesitant. But she would ask questions, she would send me information, and it was just amazing. And then I've got another four guys coming, and two of them are like well known. What do you call those people? People who've encountered them, and they wrote all these books, and I'm telling them what's going on and everything. And then my friend from Australia goes, do you want to go in? I'm like, no, I kind of want to hang out more. This is really cool. He goes, no, do you want to go into the forest? And my legs literally locked. That wave of fear came. I said, I know she's loving and she's caring. She wouldn't do anything, but my legs are not working. So that was my first encounter was with, when I saw something, but this is the first encounter where she was talking to me. I was having interaction, and I was so shocked and humbled, and it was just so amazing.
I love it.
And
I
then
love it.
so this is kind of tie up that part of it. The next year we went to the same place, and there's no light pollution, so there's ships flying around because you can see that they're not stars the way they're flying. And my neck was like, oh, my neck's hurting. I'm like, just don't come and get me. I'm all cool. You guys just keep your distance. Then I kind of stopped and shook my neck, and I said, I said, if you're here, the one that I met last year, I'd love to see you. And then I looked, and then the eyes appeared at the distance in the tree area. And I was just like so honored. And my friend, the one who's there, he's next to me, and I looked at him and he goes, I see her, sister. I said, all I did was ask. He goes, well, that's all you have to do. And then she started telling me things, and I'm like, I am so blessed. So I love it. I can connect on the spiritual level. I can connect telepathically, but I can't guarantee if they were to just pop out of the forest that I wouldn't run away.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And, thank you for sharing those sacred stories. I absolutely understand that you were chosen. They probably saw what I saw in you. No, I don't.
All I know is like, why me? But I'm like, okay, I'm blessed and thank you.
I love it. I love it, Gail. So once again, you guys check out Gail's website. You can find online classes if you are in the Colorado area. Book a session. Gail does healing sessions, all of that. Very, very like very, very grounded. She's like a tree in that she's very grounded to logic and the earth, yet she can touch the stars. And so, Gail, thank you so much. Is there any last words that you want to say to the listening audience?
So I think especially the part of walking on your path or following, where you want to be headed is number one, trust.
Yes.
Trust. Know that, you may not believe it and it's okay, but trust because that seems to be where people struggle. And you can ask for assistance, but your guides are not going to tell you what to do.
Right.
People says, well, why not? It says, I know they should have told me this before, but it was Grandfather Bear who showed me. He's right beside me. And he says, okay, Gail, which direction do you want to go? And I'm like, well, what do you think I should do? He says, whichever you choose, we will be there to support you. And I'm going, couldn't you just tell me? But that's the thing, understanding that piece of it, and that you're not making stuff up. There's just no way you can make things up. Like the experiences that I've had, I don't even know anything about hunting. How the heck would I know how to take down this deer and all this stuff but I've talked to people who are hunters, like, oh yeah, that's the part that that the animals will eat all the time. I'm like, gross. But that's a piece, and I think that's what's helped me is to stop, you know, thinking I'm not receiving this or I'm making it up, or because you just think, no, why? Like, why me? Right? You were chosen, and that's why.
Yeah.
Not chosen meaning that you're going to be put on a pedestal, but
Right.
chosen they're willing to work with you
Yeah.
because even they don't want to be on pedestals.
Right. I agree with that. And I think you bring up a very lovely point, Gail. When people are on a magical path, a lot of times when they first start, spirit is like, turn left, go into that shop, go talk to this person, pick up that crystal. But just like us in the biological age, we grow up and spirit is like, okay, now where do you want to go? Which way do you want to make it? I already raised you, kid. I already raised you. I taught you how to do this. And spirit then becomes more like that. And I think that that's brilliant because a lot of times when spirit does that, we might feel a little lost. But on the flip side, it's actually, oh, that means that I'm grown up enough to make my own mistakes and they'll be there to help pick me up, or they'll be like, yeah, you can do this and we'll be there to support you. So it's a maturity, it's a spiritual maturity thing. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, because seriously, when you're first on your path, spirit's like, buy that crystal, go walk this way, and then the person starts to develop and grow and learn how to trust, learn how to walk on their own, learn how to just like a person. And then all of a sudden they're like, but spirit, which way do I go? And they're just like, I got you through high school. You choose your own college, kid. You choose your own major. And it's just like, oh, so I think that, what do you think about that, Gail? I think it's funny.
I love that. It makes total sense, and that's what I've experienced. But I mean, they'll still do things like something new that's coming up. They'll say like, oh, I said, I don't know, I'm being drawn to this crystal for a reason, and later I'm like, oh, okay, or like I make sprays now. Like Garrett used to make a lot of sprays, right? So I started seeing a lot of spirit animals coming in, and they wanted to have the sprays to help with the connection. So I told Garrett, I says, Garrett, there's a whole bunch of them waiting for you to make sprays. He goes, I'm not making it, you are. I said, but you're the spray dude. And he laughed at me. But they started giving me, you know, how many drops of this essence and how many drops of that essence. And I listened when I was almost compulsive. You need to buy that. I'm like, I have no idea why I'm going to buy it, but I'm like, okay. And sometimes I could have it for a year. And then, they'll say, okay, go get this. I'm going, oh, we're going to make a new essence now to make a spray. So they still do that, about something new. Or I will say, I've got so much going on. If you want me to have this retreat, you kind of have to just throw it in my lap because I'm like being torn because I'm going all these different directions. And then it gets thrown in my lap and I hear, now what are you going to do? So,
I
okay,
love
okay,
it.
I'm going to do it.
I absolutely love it. Gail, it has just been a pleasure having you on. And people comment, you can text the show, but comment if you want more info and to have Gail back about maybe the Sasquatch or something like that. You can always let me know and I can see if she's available. But thank you so much, Gail, for being on this episode. And people, thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Belief Being and Beyond. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification button, text the show, comment. Talk to me, people. We're in the second year of Belief Being and Beyond podcast, and I want to know what you guys want to know. So I will bring you the beyond. Just let me know. Anyway, mwah, love you. See you on the flippity flip.